So I'm very excited to begin our CloudCon 2 keynote session with an overview of business-critical cloud solutions. We'll kick off with Simon Peel, Senior Vice President of Strategy and Marketing for Cast Iron Systems, an IBM company. Simon shares two great examples of how Cast Iron's cloud integration platform is proving to be business-critical in a number of important ways. Simon.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Today, what I'd like to do is just give you a quick flavor for the kind of things that Cast Iron Systems product is able to do. We are proudly an IBM company now, as was mentioned a second ago, and I want to give you a good idea as to why we were acquired by one of the top integration companies in the world. The focus today is going to be on how to integrate applications in days using a Cast Iron product. I know the focus of this whole session is what can you do in 90 days or less, and I think you'll see some pretty impressive things here that you can do using the Cast Iron products, certainly in 90 days or less. Just 60 seconds here on Cast Iron ourselves. We were founded in 2001, been very focused on integration, in fact, completely since our inception, and were most recently acquired. But our pioneering focus and our passion has been all around getting the cloud integrated with on-premise systems and also cloud applications integrated with other cloud systems. Now, the core focus in our tagline, which was audacious when we first brought it up, but now has just become something that people know we can do, is integrate in days. We can integrate in days. We've done that for literally thousands of customer integrations now and really been well recognized, as you can see in the press and the analyst community. So it's that I want to give you a flavor for just in these next few minutes here. And I've chosen a couple of different case studies to share with you. The first of which is a case study that really looks at how Oracle customers have been integrating with back-end systems, and specifically a system called Epicor in this example. So taking a look at XTG, XTG is the world's largest secondary market computer distributor, and the issue that they had was actually around integrating the Oracle CRM on-demand system to their internal ERP system called Epicor. Now, this was something that they embarked upon themselves by doing custom code and really looking at ways to do this by coding. And what the outcome of that investigation was, and just taking a look at working with the APIs that were available, is that bottom line, it does take quite a lot of experience and expertise and unfortunately time as well. So it's time not just to create these integrations, but also then to maintain them. And what we're seeing is that basically that just pulls the experts away from the valuable things that they could and should be doing, versus plumbing, which really is not something that is particularly visible. It's visible when it doesn't work, but when you spend a lot of time and effort to create it, it's not super visible as to what exactly has been done, just that these systems seem to talk, as people tend to expect. But doing it manually, as XTG looked at, was going to take a tremendous amount of time and manual effort. Meanwhile, while the systems were not integrated, there was a lot of inaccuracy creeping into the processes, a lot of manual swivel chair type updates taking place, and we're creating those inaccuracies. So not a good position to be in because, you really want to solve the problem quickly. And yet, if you're looking at doing customized type coding and so on, then the only solution was something that would actually do things in a much slower way. So really that's why Cast Iron was selected here. That focus on being able to do integration rapidly was a really big and compelling reason to move forward with Cast Iron. And you can see here the result was that integration was delivered 10 days. Okay, so the word integration and 10 days, these things don't normally go together. But with the Cast Iron product, that's exactly what we're able to deliver. And you can see here that it was a cost that was half of what it would have taken to actually do the coding themselves. And specifically, this was done using a configuration-based approach, which is the Cast Iron way, without doing a whole bunch of coding. So I think that's a good example of how to get the cloud and cloud-based systems integrated with on-premise ERP systems in literally just days to get that 360-degree view of the customer. So there's one example. I'd like to share one other with you, which is actually a well-known company. As you know, Siemens are a global enterprise that are leading the way in many different areas. They're a big SAP shop, right? So obviously a big back-end complex ERP system. And at the time, it signed up for 550 seats of Salesforce.com, something that a lot of companies on this call today will have done, signing up for Salesforce, and yet recognizing that a lot of the core business assets are actually in the back-end systems. Again, the focus here was to connect these things. One route could have been custom code, but the mantra actually for Siemens in this particular project was, we don't want to have to use a bunch of developers. We don't want to develop code and have to own all of that code. So that was sort of a key thing in the selection process. And so Cast iron wasn't just the speed of integration here, but it was the ability to be able to do that integration without having to dig down into the API manuals to be able to complete the integration. And so we're able here to extract invoices and show order statuses and move that data in both directions, not just out of SAP into Salesforce, but both directions. Also, when orders close in Salesforce, those go back straight into SAP, are processed, and then order numbers are coming back into the Salesforce environment. So great visibility and success story there, which the whole thing was completed within a 2-week period. So that's a flavor, I think, for cast iron, where you're able to see how you can literally just do cloud to on-premise integration in just days.
Simon, two very powerful examples of how cloud computing and integration from and to the cloud can help companies benefit from even long-standing mission-critical applications. Really excellent. Just one quick question in the time we have left. I know we're going to hear more about cast iron in the solo session later this morning, but in general, are there common themes or common templates that customers have existing in their enterprise that you find really drive the success of their cloud projects?
Yeah, good question. So there's no doubt that what's driving cloud integration these days are the new SaaS applications that are showing up and being provisioned very, very quickly in the cloud. And that's driving this tremendous need to be able to get at data which is on-premise, both to be able to manipulate that data, but also to get statuses and so on out of those core systems and into the cloud so that it's visible just from anywhere on Earth, just through a web browser. So that's basically what we see, a lot of SaaS applications being provisioned, the big focus being CRM, of course, that's the mainstay of SaaS applications today, but also we see it now spreading into human capital management, HCM, so things like Taleo or SuccessFactors and so on, and into collaboration. And what we're also seeing now, though, is the advent of private cloud applications. So we're seeing things not just in the public cloud, but also in the private cloud as well.
It also appears that you're making the cloud very easy for either the application owner or the integration architect, whichever skill set is involved, to tap into the cloud.
Yeah, that's definitely been a core premise for us. We want to make sure that it's not just something that you have to have an architect do or somebody who is extremely skilled in integration. It really is something that a business person can say, look, these are the kind of fields, these are the fields, in fact, from the applications that I want to exchange between these two applications. And then with somebody who doesn't necessarily have that sort of deep architectural knowledge can then go ahead and make that happen literally in days. It's not something that can be done by somebody with no technical skill at all, but it certainly doesn't require the depth of knowledge that has been required in the past. So those key architects can remain focused on the much bigger picture.
So many great benefits here, Simon. Take us through a little bit of your solo session and how we'll learn a little bit more about cast iron under the covers.
You know, we talk a lot about integrating in days, and I think the question is how? And really what we're going to be looking at in the upcoming session are a number of things that we've done in the product just to make sure that people can integrate in days, not least of which is keeping it somewhat deployment agnostic. So there's many ways that you can deploy this, but you can use a configuration tool, which really doesn't have to worry about the deployment methodologies. Secondarily, we're looking at the templates as well, a template-driven approach to integration, which really accelerates the speed at which you can do these things. And so really we'll be looking at how you can integrate in days.
Very powerful. We look forward to hearing all that and more in your upcoming session later today. Thanks again, Simon.
You're welcome.